it is and it isn't. In the short term, it's not. In the short term, it has stabilized itself politically, its economy is growing, it controls huge oil and gas resources at a point in time where prices are very high, and it is muscling its way around its neighboring countries, its so-called near abroad, by blackmailing and extorting those governments such as Ukraine and Georgia and so forth, and even potentially sending troops to intervene in other areas. So in a way, it seems, wow, Russia is back. But the long-term picture obviously is different. In the long-term picture is that they've lost a large chunk of their territory due to the collapse of the Soviet Union. Their population is undergoing a staggering freefall. People talk about Italy, experiencing population decline. Russia is probably the most steep in the whole world. They lose something like 500,000 of their population a year due to either emigration or death. Due to various causes. So the long-term picture from that point of view isn't very good. They also have a lot of Chinese migration into the country, into the Far East. So parts of the Russian Far East territorially that are Russia on the map don't look like Russia in person. So that's a huge problem to think about as well. Then the authoritarian system isn't necessarily stable. Oil prices aren't necessarily going to be this high forever. There's a lot of reasons why the current resurgence is really just a blip, and the longer term picture of Russian decline very much still holds. Well, Europe already does encroach on Russia's territory in the sense that between NATO expansion and EU expansion, they more or less are up against the borders of Russia. The Baltic countries they are, and the relationship with Ukraine, which is deepening, is also getting it in that direction, as well as with the countries of the Caucasus, Georgia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. So gradually, Europe is certainly encroaching on Russia as much as Russia would like to be encroached on. In Finland, there's a debate about what relationship to have with NATO and the EU and whether to actually deepen those ties. Yet more evidence of how, like it or not, Russia basically is left with only Russia and a diminishing influence outside its own borders. Nuclear weapons are still there. It has the second largest nuclear arsenal in the world, but it is not the weapon of choice in the 21st century. And of course, Russia only has two major population centers or economic hubs. So it obviously faces serious retaliation. So the last country in the world that would be wise to use nuclear weapons would be Russia.